What makes creative communities go round? I know for me, I would like to say that it is scintillating discussions, the modern day writing salon, where lifelong friends are made, connections forged, we learn things, we grow, it's amazing. But let's be honest, a lot of the time it's actually drama. Every time I pop onto Instagram, they show you like a little peek of the Threads app, and I'll see what some of my friends and acquaintances, as well as just other writers that I don't really know, but they're out there in my circle. It'll show you kind of the first half or so of their Threads posts, and it's often gossipy, and it often sounds kind of juicy. I'm kind of like, ooh, I want to know, what are they talking about? But there's a reason that I don't get on Threads. Threads seems like the place of all the tantalizing drama. And YouTube has its fair share as well, but at least YouTube's a little more involved. Like you gotta sit your ass down to watch a YouTube video, whereas Threads can catch you in just that time sucks scroll thing where, at least in YouTube you can go, okay, that video is 12 minutes. That's about how much time I have right now. Threads becomes infinite, much like all those other more twitchy little social media platforms. I think it's safe to say that Threads has now established itself as the new hub for writer community gossip, which means I am never getting on Threads. Now, this was not always true. Let me spin you the tale of a baby author, young, starry-eyed, and ready to dish. My name is Lydia Foxglove, and I'm a fantasy author. I have been both traditionally and indie published for a living since 2009. And on this channel, I talk about the creative life in general and the writing life in particular, the practical, the creative, the financial, the emotional, all sides of the creative life. So if that sounds good to you, make sure to hit the like and subscribe button. But today I wanted to talk about just the whole concept of the writer drama, or even creative community drama in general, and why I don't participate in it anymore. Now, being on YouTube, it is very tempting to get involved with it and make videos about it because it can be very successful stuff. I've seen so many videos about the Million Lives Festival. I cannot believe how many videos there were about this event and how many views these videos got. How much could there be to say about this event? But people love their gossip. Disheveled editing, Lydia here. I just wanted to note that I made this video before the Audra Winter thing occurred, and I did weigh in on that. And I just wanted to note, because some of you may have seen that video pop up as a thumbnail but not have watched it yet. I think if you've watched it, you would know that I didn't really focus on the stirring up the drama or casting any kind of judgment on Audra Winter herself. But I was interested in that one because I felt like there was enough of a larger conversation to be had about more general topics. And that's probably the only time I'm ever going to weigh in on a particular drama in the writing community. If I want to be, I can be a champion gossiper. At my first ever job, I was working at Sears, and I was definitely, the weirdo at Sears. Most of my coworkers were kind of more normal people who were into normal things and were not trying to write a novel, studying Japanese, and trying to run an anime club like my nerdy self. Also really into David Bowie. I talked about David Bowie incessantly, and this was before the David Bowie revival, so nobody even knew who David Bowie was. So yeah, you can imagine me. I was not the most popular coworker. I would not get invited to the parties or anything because I don't think anybody knew what to make of me, so I was often kind of isolated from my coworkers by want of being the kind of person who says by want of. So anyway, the one superpower I quickly learned that I had was that I could gossip in a snarky and hilarious way about lower coworkers on the totem pole, and that would make like the popular girls like me because they would laugh at the things I would say. I was the wit. I was a cruel wit. I think Oscar Wilde would have been proud. But that didn't last very long before I was being kind of cruelly witty about one of our coworkers, and like a minute later she walked into the scene and she said she did not hear me. But she said something like, clearly she didn't hear me, just like, let me establish that. Plus the time was kind of off. But they got in a little conversation where she was kind of like, what are you talking about? And I think she kind of knew everybody was being mean to her. And I don't remember quite how it unfolded exactly, but she said something like, well, I know you weren't gossiping because you would never say anything bad about anybody. Because I always came across as being very sweet and a little innocent. But secretly, I could be very mean. But my heart wasn't very mean. I wanted people to like me. That was an eye-opening moment where I thought, I don't want to be this person. I would rather be the loner who is studying Japanese in the break room and getting harangued for it than be the mean gossip. So I tried to reel it back. But then I started to try to become a published author, and I had a number of friends who were in the same position. I had many writer friends who were trying to get agents and publishing deals, including some people that I had known like since we were teenagers, or in one case, someone who'd been my sister's friend for some years and then ended up being more of my friend. So I had this whole circle. We're all in our 20s. We're all trying to get published. We're getting agents at different times. And then we start getting book deals at different times. And this is a very cutthroat situation, a powder keg, if you will, because you've got a bunch of 20-somethings, an age where you still kind of have a lot of the emotions of a teenager, but you are feeling the responsibilities of adulthood heaped upon you, feeling a lot of pressure, feeling that the decisions you make are crucial to your entire future and that you really, really need to succeed at something or you're going to be a failure. So I had friends that started getting book deals before me, and like the jealousy would just gnaw on me all day. Like someone getting a book deal and then like 6 months pass and I still don't have one. I felt like my life was over. Then I finally got a book deal. And then I had some other friends who hadn't gotten their book deals. So we had that. Now I was the one that I could tell people were a little jealous of me, or maybe a lot jealous. And on top of that, the one thing about books, selling books, is you can have two people who put in the same amount of work and even write a very similar book in a similar genre. And just by whatever luck of the draw, what editor happens to really click with their book, you can have two fairly similar books and authors. One can make almost nothing and one can make a small fortune. This happened more than once. I had some friends who made absolute pittance on their books, like $2,000. And then I had friends that made like $300,000 on one book. And I fell, well, I don't want to say right in the middle because I definitely didn't make $150,000 on a book, but at least by orders of magnitude, I was in the middle. I was making like 10 times what my friend was making, and then I had another friend making 10 times what I was making. So, you know, most jobs don't have that crazy level. Like if you become a manager of a Sears store, you're probably not making 100 times what another manager at a Sears store is making. That's probably true of a lot of jobs, that you can have different pay scales, but in writing, it's very extreme. That's true of a lot of creative jobs as well. Obviously, you can have like two people become actors, and one of them is doing a local commercial for a furniture store, and the other one becomes a Hollywood A-lister. Not common, but you know, creative careers basically don't pay fairly based on your talent. So as a result, they are extremely ripe for gossip, both of the maybe justified kind, if any gossip is justified, and also the very petty, jealous, mean kind of gossip. So a lot of my conversation with my friends at this point veered into the gossip territory. And in the way of 20-somethings, we were very much trying not to gossip. It was this SNL skit, like, in spades.
He's such a hard worker. I will say he can be pretty petty. Like, okay, so he has this holiday party, and on the invite it says, in bold letters, it says, "No gifts, please." So we show up, and he goes, "Arriving empty-handed, are we?"
At some point, after you've indulged in a fair amount of this conversation, you'll be talking about friend A with friend B, and then you'll be talking about friend B with friend A, and it'll occur to you that friend B and A are surely complaining about you as well, and it all just like starts to feel pretty icky. And much like the retail experience, I started to realize that this was not what I want my friendships or my conversation to be based around, and I don't want to have friends where I'm just talking badly about other friends. And in fact, I don't want to be friends with people that I have this many bad things to say about. So either I'm making up things that I don't really feel that strongly about, or I probably should not be friends with those people. So I kind of reviewed my friendships and realized that in some cases I was friends with people that actually seemed kind of toxic. And in some cases I was being kind of bitchy about people that I actually thought were great people. And I don't want to do that anymore. And, I was getting older. I was growing up. I was getting less jealous, and I was getting more perspective about what this career was going to look like, and what that friendships should elevate you and not be petty and mean. But a lot of the gossip that we're talking about now that pops up is not about people that I know, and they're probably not about people that anybody who's talking about them knows. This is internet, viral, somebody did something that seems worthy of gossip. Sometimes it's a person, sometimes it's a publisher or organization. We got all kinds of gossip going on in the writer community, and you might think, well, I need to know some of this stuff. And that's true. Some of it you will want to know. Like if you're going to attend a book festival and then you find out that the organizer is a super racist, you probably want to know that before you show up, and everyone else is canceled and you're there like, hey guys, like, oh, I'm the only person at this book festival. You want to probably keep a little bit of an eye on broad industry stuff, so you know who you don't want to work with. Like when you're looking for an agent, you want to know the gossip about agents, because you want to know whether the public presentation of an agent is going to be reflected in their behind the scenes behavior. Especially with clients that are struggling, it's pretty common to have an agent who isn't that good to you if you're having a bad year or a bad few years. So if you're participating in a lot of like public stuff with agents, editors, book festivals, or anything like that, you want to know who you're dealing with. But I'm not doing any of that right now. I'm pretty much doing everything on my own, and I'm not traveling or doing festivals or anything like that. So there's very little gossip that I really need to know. And my feeling is following this stuff distracts me from real work. It's a huge time suck, and it's also a huge brain mental energy suck. It's amazing how much time you can spend just thinking about what a crazy thing that person did. And then you talk to your friend about it. Oh my God, did you see what so-and-so did? And then you talk to another friend about it. And then you post on threads and you have comments, and you're talking about it with 100 strangers. All of this can eat up a lot of time, and I'd rather spend my time on something else. Another problem with getting too involved with gossip is some of it is very valid, some of it you want to know, but some of it is also just kind of petty, of the moment stuff, and you never know who you might be at a party or in a room with in the future. Right now, I'm not really going much of anywhere, but if I move back to the Northeast Corridor, I could totally be at a bar, at a hotel, at a convention, and I could suddenly find myself sitting next to nearly anybody in the writing, publishing business. I have found myself in rooms with some very famous people that I would never have expected to be hanging out with. And just in general, you never know who you're going to be hanging out with. You might be a nobody right now, but you could be really successful in 10 years. And the other person could be a nobody right now, but they could be really successful in 10 years. Maybe you'll both be really successful and you'll be on a panel together. Like, you just don't want to burn bridges with anybody unless they are just truly an awful person that you would never want to be around for any length of time. But I don't want to get caught up in any of that, like, petty nonsense stuff. And people also change over time. I've had a couple of friends who started out like blogging, doing book reviews, kind of gossiping and being in more of that social media gossip space. And at the time they were just doing like social media reviewing, sometimes snarky reviewing, and then later they became published authors. And that can be a very awkward position to be in, that you used to be in the snarky conversation criticism space, and now you are hanging out with somebody that you gave a snarky review about. You might want to totally stand by everything you said, but it is worth bearing in mind that this could happen if you have any aspirations of writing while you're doing like social media criticism, reviewing, etc. Another problem with paying too much attention to gossip is that you can get caught in a terror loop of what is acceptable to talk about. We live in a world where sometimes the most random things that I would not even anticipate will blow up into a big old drama. And then meanwhile, somebody else can do something that I would think, oh my God, they're totally going to get canceled for that. That's kind of offensive or insensitive or cultural appropriation or whatever the thing is. And they like just get off like nobody even seems to ever notice. You never know what's going to blow up into a thing. And in like a year or two, absolutely no one will probably remember that drama. But like when you're in it, it's terrifying. And if you spend all your time being wrapped up in like, what am I allowed to say? What am I allowed to talk about? What am I allowed to write? You can paralyze yourself and feel like you can't write about anything. You have to get everything right all the time. You can't write about anything that would ever offend anyone. You can't say anything that would ever offend anyone. I feel like it's just like, I try to be aware of like what the conversations are, and I don't want to do anything insensitive that I could have very easily learned to avoid and like learned why you shouldn't do or say or write about that thing. But there's a lot of gray area and you can just get frozen. So I try not to get too caught up in all those little dramas all the time, or I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be writing, or if I did, I'd be writing the most bland stuff that couldn't possibly offend anyone, if that's even possible. I don't think it is. Another reason not to do it is it's bad karma, guys. It's just bad karma. Don't gossip about people unless they really deserve it. And another reason not to get too caught up in this stuff is that it is very easy to feel superior to other people and just get yourself into that headspace. There are some authors that I have been in private chats of gossip about these authors who are doing stuff that's like kind of obnoxious, kind of not the best business practices. But I have generally stepped back from the gossiping group chats because if I spend too much time thinking about all the things this person is doing wrong, and there's usually some kind of like, okay, I totally get why my friends are talking about this. And you might want to be aware of like, ooh, that's a bad look. I don't want to do that. But I generally want to stay humble that there are always things that I could improve about my writing and my marketing and my personal presentation. I don't want to spend too much time just feeling like, look at what she is doing. What a bonehead. Because then I feel like if I do that, I'm less likely to realize the areas in which I, too, might be a bonehead. Generally, I want to be the type of author who lifts other authors up and doesn't focus on the negative stuff. I just think it's better karma. It just feels better. I'm not perfect. I can be very introverted. I can get very easily stressed out and flustered and very behind on my social media stuff, my email, my messages. Like, I can't support and lift up everyone just for like time considerations, but I at least want to do no harm. Like, I want to feel like I left a positive stamp on my community, that I was able to help some people, give some good advice, share some things I've learned, give some good critiques. And if I don't have time to do those things now and then, I at least want to say that I didn't spend too much time in a negative space. Now, of course, now there will be no stopping drama as long as social media algorithms exist and as long as humans are alive. These are just my personal reasons for kind of veering away from it. And I don't watch a lot of the videos. I don't get on threads, and I try not to gossip about anybody anymore. I'm not perfect, but I try. So let me know if you have any thoughts about drama and gossip. We can gossip about gossip. Does that count? Is that gossip? If you'd like more from me, I have a Patreon and a Substack. Both have a free tier. Same content on both. And if you would like 2 free bonus videos from me voted on by you guys, sign up for either of those 2 or my YouTube memberships with the paid tier. That'll also get you access to my Discord server where we have fun every day. And if you'd like to read any of my books, there's a link in the description. My free book of the month is Fae Sworn. It's rather spicy and it's rather funny, at least I think so. So that's why I'm giving it away as a summer book, because I think it's a good, just like fun summer read. But if you'd like to read one of the like books of my heart, you want the Hidden Lands books. Thank you so much to all of you for being here. I post on Sunday at 3 p.m. as well as sometimes on Wednesday at 8-ish p.m. And I love to see you back here. Bye.